Okay. So, what was the activity like for all of you?
I don't know how to describe it. I think as you're reading through it, I was like, the first few made perfect sense, and then the other ones were, because it doesn't pertain to me as much. I can understand why it would be very important for someone that it did pertain to.
Yeah, like these were things that I would
want this for somebody else, but I don't see it as my top 10.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. You got 10?
No, I didn't get
this
to
is
10.
the conversation.
Yeah.
I got
no, but how do you choose? Like, even if you get to, like you said, that one general category that you shouldn't be discriminated against at all for whatever.
Yeah, like some of them got super specific, but then like a lot of it doesn't hit on like other races, like those privileges. But then there's a lot of like gender identity ones.
How did the activity make you feel?
Privilege.
Yeah, it's kind of. Here's my thing: is like a lot of these are just like American things. I feel like as Americans, we're all incredibly privileged to be able to. The top three, like being fluent in English and being a citizen of the U.S.
Right.
Like those are like very big privileges just being in this country.
Right. But are you saying like in another country it might not be as much of a privilege, or it might not be as
like
important?
Homophobia, or like homophobia is legal. Like say, go ahead. Like gay marriage is like still isn't legal like in other places, so like they don't even have these conversations about like trans rights, like everything like that.
Right.
They're still working with basic human rights versus the ones that are more fringe like, I guess.
Fringe?
Well, they're highly specific.
Okay.
It's sad we have to say trans rights and we just can't say human rights, and people just get what you mean by that. But obviously from some of these things it's highly specific.
Okay. So, how did you go about picking your privileges?
I did ones based on basically like how you'll be treated. So like like the top ones, like being fluent and then being a citizen, and then also like like not being raised in an area with like crime and drug activity, as well as like assumptions, like basically like people assuming your identity, or like just because like your identity is something, like assuming something negative about you.
Okay.
I did ones that would like keep me alive, kind of stuff. Like,
police not killing you.
I did that one. Access to social capital because he gets a job, food, and I just said being a citizen of a country because I only had like $700. I got hella money. Shut up.
Ma, how'd you?
Mary.
Well, I could pick 11 things. Am I supposed to say how much I had?
I guess.
And so I did not pick being fluent in English as a top because I had to read through all the rest of them.
Privilege.
But no, I mean it's. I was trying not to be like the arrogant United States, like, oh, we're the best. This is our language. This is our whatever. But I did put being a citizen down, and I put. I assume it was being raised without crime and drug activity.
Not let's assume that one.
Yeah, let's assume that one. And I did put food and health insurance, and I put supportive family environment.
I did that one too.
Because I think it was more, your immediate normal things that you associate with everybody. Like these are things everybody looks for, and I don't necessarily have the direct experience with some of the other things. Like even the one with police, reading that, I know exactly what they're talking about, but at the same time, I would think that would be very important, but at the same time, reading through the rest of them, I was like, these are all important, but I picked the things that probably are more like pertain to me because I am privileged.
So that's an important point that you made, is that you don't have, there are more things that you probably want than you can afford or that you were given when we started this thing.
Oh, by having only 1,100.
Yeah.
But I don't think I had to really sacrifice too much. But part of that, I think, was because they were so specific that you could find things that were that kind of engulfed the other things, possibly.
Yeah, I had 1,800, so I was like, dang, like a lot of these, I was just like, all right, I tend to go. What else do I want?
Right. Yeah, I had 500. So
yours was harder to do.
Yeah. So is there anything on this list that surprised you?
Well, there's a lot of things on this list that have applied to me in the past that I never thought about, like as a female in a science profession, but certainly not to the degree that I would have recognized. But this one, a decision to hire you won't be based on whether the employer assumes you'll be having children in the near future. That happens all the time.
I didn't understand being able to see your partner immediately if in an accident or emergency.
Right. So there's some kind of law that basically if like you have to be married or you have to be immediate family.
Yeah, Dad and I weren't married, and he was just my boyfriend living together.
Yeah. So
that's true for
in a legally recognized civil union, which is not the same as a same-sex marriage, is not considered being immediate family.
So somebody who's in a civil union doesn't have power of attorney or medical.
They can if my wife is sick, my wife gets into an accident, she's in the emergency room, I can't see her because I'm not immediate family, because I'm not well, that's the whole thing with, same-sex marriage. Now I'm pretty sure because they have that, I would be able to see her.
Mm-hmm. So that shouldn't be on the list.
Yeah.
Drop that one.
Let's see. So this activity was called privilege for sale. So why do you think it's called privilege for sale instead of heterosexual privilege for sale, or cisgender privilege for sale, white privilege for sale, able-bodied privilege for sale?
Well, I don't know. Each race and each whatever identity other than that you have has its own privileges. Like even being an American is a privilege, or like appearing as something else is a privilege. You know, even I took a race class.
Yo, get out of here! We're filming, TJ. We're filming. Golly.
I took a race class and it talked about how it basically went through the hierarchy of each race, and it was white, Asians, Arabian Americans, etc. But it kind of showed how other minority groups have more privilege over other minority groups. So it's Arabian Americans, for example, used to be more privileged, but then after 9/11, they're like kind of at the bottom again.
So there's even a pecking order within.
Minorities.
Wow.
Yeah. Like the one minority.
Like light
basically-
skinned versus dark skinned.
Yeah. And it even showed, there was a weird study where it showed that actually like darker skinned white males like would end up getting in like more trouble than lighter skin because there was like basically like racial ambiguity.
Mm.
Jeez.
Weird.
So why do you think we chose money as the kind of representation of different levels of privilege?
I got this one.
Okay.
I'd say it's because money is its own privilege, but like
Yes.
a lot of these things are things you can't get with money. So that's why I was confused about the money thing.
Okay.
Yeah, but some of these are also like bigger privileges than other ones. Like I don't think they're all weighted equally.
Like you can't buy a supportive family. It's very a lot of these are very situational.
Hmm.
But you can buy health insurance,
Gee,
and you can.
And with health insurance,
you can live in a good neighborhood. Yeah. So
Well, that's
money
nice.
will put you in an environment where you're less likely
Yeah.
to encounter.
yeah, because if you can afford to not be in a neighborhood that has a bunch of crime, then you won't be as stressed or as worried. And so obviously when you're stressed, that can put strain on you, that can put strain on your family. So if you don't have to worry about, well, someone's going to break in, then you'll all be a little more,
You sleep better
Focus
at
on
night.
other things.
yeah, more connected to your neighbors and, that kind of thing, because
Ew.
it's a good neighborhood. But you're right. Money is its own privilege.
I didn't answer that. Did I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what you
Oh.
said.
You're like, I got this.
What have you learned from this activity?
I think I learned a good amount about like gender identity privileges.
Okay.
Since that's something that I can relate to.
Right, because I imagine it's probably a lot easier for you to understand, white privilege or that kind of thing because it pertains to you. But gender identity, if you're cool with where you are, then yeah, it's something you don't have to think about, so you don't think about it.
I guess in looking at some of these things, it sort of made me sad that these are written probably because this does happen to people.
Yes, I would assume.
But I mean, some of it is just like, seriously? Like you read it, it's just kind of is depressing that.
I learned that there's way more ways to be privileged than just like what your skin is or what your gender is.
Mm.
Or like how much money you make.
Yeah.
Seems like it's acceptance more so than anything.
So how does this activity and what you're learning kind of translate into your job or your work?
Like being able to
I mean, you want to work in like automotive things, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So how does what you've learned about like privilege today apply to that?
I guess like a big part of it is even being able to like have the privilege to be like, yeah, like I want to work in this specific industry, right? Like,
Right.
The whole like having, like, let's say health insurance, having food, having a college education, those are all privileges that have even allowed me to be like, yes, I want to work in this. And then, like, even entering that industry, like, of course, there's, like, other privileges, like, that other people might have that, like, come into play, like, just, like, workplace environment privileges, like, being a man, for example, like, going into upper management, those other privileges come into play.
Right.
Galaxy.
Okay. I think that's all the questions. Alrighty. That's all I have for you. Thank you, ladies.
Thanks. This discussion was great.